We tend to think the giving season is around the holidays in November and December, but summer is also a time of great need for families here in the North Country. That's because many kids who rely on school meals don't have access to them when the school year ends. Local food pantries can help families fill in the gaps. We hear about a community food drive that'll collect food and hygiene products for organizations across St. Lawrence County on today's Story of the Day.
Support for Story of the Day comes from Morja Wealth Management, serving the North Country for 3 generations. MorjaWM.com. Advisory services offered through Hightower Advisors LLC. Securities are offered through Hightower Securities LLC, member FINRA, SIPC. And Kinney Drugs, now accepting S3 Nations benefits and OTC Network Wellness benefit cards for eligible over-the-counter health items. Details at KinneyDrugs.com.
Hi, I'm Kara Chapman. It's Tuesday, June 16th. Up first, the school budget for Osable Valley is up for a second vote today. The first budget proposal was rejected by voters last month. It called for a 12% increase in the tax levy from the previous year. Because it exceeded the tax cap, the budget needed to be approved by at least 60% of voters. It only got 45% of the vote. The new budget proposal for Osable Valley has a tax levy of about 6%. It's also slightly smaller than last year's spending plan, coming in at around $38.5 million. The school district has cut 21 staff positions in recent years amid declining enrollment and rising costs. If voters reject the budget today, the school district will have to adopt a contingency budget with a 0% tax levy increase. According to the district's website, that would force the district to cut 5 more teacher positions and eliminate all athletics. Polls are open today in Osable Forks at the high school cafeteria until 8 p.m. The 2 Democrats hoping to flip New York's 21st congressional district seat blue debated last week for the first and only time ahead of the June 23rd primary. Here's my story on the highlights. Lake Placid businessman Stuart Amorell and St. Lawrence County farmer Blake Gendabine met for the debate at the CBS 6 News studio in Schenectady Thursday.
Good evening, everyone. I am Tom Eschen, and welcome to this special Power and Politics presentation.
Unlike their Republican counterparts who lobbed attacks at each other on the same stage last month, the 2 Democrats kept things civil as they laid out where they agreed and disagreed. Speaking just days after reports that ICE agents had apprehended more than 20 people in the Adirondacks, Amorell had some strong thoughts about what should happen with the controversial agency.
We need to dismantle and replace ICE as we know it, and replace it with an immigration enforcement agency that respects the rule of law, due process, and the dignity of all people.
CBS 6 News anchor Tom Eschen turned to Gendabine.
Would you vote to defund ICE?
No. What I will support is changing the leadership and make sure that all law enforcement operates with accountability and transparency with the same rules. Nobody should be unidentifiable, and we should have body cams.
Eschen later asked the candidates how they'd address the Trump administration's use of power. Gendabine said his campaign is for voters who want to rebuild the U.S. relationship with Canada, support union members, and protect rural hospitals.
I'm going to be laser focused on what's right for the North Country and upstate New York. And like Stuart said, if we keep the people in this district's a priority and their concerns a priority, we will not go wrong.
Amorell said he agreed with the priorities Gendabine mentioned.
But here's the thing. I don't think any of those things are going to happen until we put a check on Trump's power, until we force the executive and Trump to live within the 4 corners of the Constitution. Until we do that, nothing else is possible.
For Amorell, that check is Democrats taking back control of Congress. On who from their party should try to win back the White House in 2028, Amorell had to think about his answer.
I can't answer that question yet. I have to wait and see and hear the positions and the values of those that run before I could say who I think should be the president.
Okay, move on. Mr. Gendabine?
I couldn't think of anything I'm less interested in.
Okay.
You can watch the full debate on the CBS 6 Albany YouTube channel. That's also where you can find the debate between the Republicans running to represent NY21, Sticker Mule CEO Anthony Constantino, and Assemblyman Robert Smullen. Early voting for the primary takes place through Sunday. The election is next Tuesday, June 23rd. Kara Chapman, North Country Public Radio. Food insecurity is on the rise across the country. Close to 16% of families in the U.S. say they've received food donations to help get by. Tomorrow, the United Way of Northern New York is hosting a community food drive at the Walmart in Potsdam. They're collecting food and hygiene items that'll be distributed to all the food pantries in St. Lawrence County. Catherine Wheeler spoke with United Way CEO Don Cole about why it's needed right now.
General awareness of food insecurity and increased need at food pantries tends to happen around the holiday time, right? Where we all kind of are aware of the need and we tend to be more generous to our pantries around the holiday time. But what we sometimes forget, because summers are short here in the North Country and we're all trying to cram as much, fun as we can into a short period of time, what we forget is that the need really intensifies in July and August when kids don't have access to those school meal programs, right? And now they're home, and even many working families are increasingly turning to food pantries to, keep food on the table. So we recognize that this is a peak time and just wanted to build some awareness around food insecurity in the summer. Now, national statistics tell us that it's approximately 1 in 5 children who are uncertain where their next meal is coming from. But when we look at local indicators in a very rural county like St. Lawrence, we recognize that there are transportation barriers, distance between resources, access to resources. We believe, local providers believe, that number may even be greater. The need is even greater in a rural community like St. Lawrence County.
You're talking about need here. Could you kind of share with me what need for food and hygiene products? What does that look like here in the North Country?
Well, we hear from our pantry partners that they're seeing increases now in the last, couple of months as we see, cost of living has increased substantially, cost of gas, cost of food. So as the cost of goods rises, so too does the need. Pantry partners are telling us that they are seeing more working families who rely on food pantries to just kind of supplement their budgets. And, we recognize that costs have gone up for everyone, but we're hopeful that those of us that can afford to do a little extra, may choose to buy a couple of extra jars of peanut butter or an extra box of cereal and make a contribution to the community food drive, because every little bit makes a difference. It truly does.
Have you seen more people give during this time while there's also increased need?
We have, and we concluded the Jefferson-Lewis County Community Food Drive on June 3rd, and we did raise a record number of donations. Now, we recognize going into this on Wednesday in Potsdam that this is a first endeavor, so it may take us a couple of years to grow this to a substantial program. But everyone that we've talked to is really excited. We've come together multiple times over the last several weeks, kind of looked at need, talked with the pantries in our neighborhoods, and decided that, that this was a great opportunity not only to build support for pantries as they head into this busy season, but also just to enhance awareness about food insecurity. If you don't experience it, you may not realize that sadly food insecurity does exist in our local community.
That was Don Cole, CEO of the United Way of Northern New York. She spoke with Catherine Wheeler. The United Way is hosting a food drive at the Potsdam Walmart on Route 11 tomorrow from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. All the proceeds and donations collected will be divided and shared among all food pantries in St. Lawrence County. They're asking folks to donate healthy, shelf-stable items. That includes things like peanut butter, cereal, and whole grain pastas. They're also asking for hygiene products like shampoo, toothpaste, and deodorant. Again, that collection event is tomorrow at the Potsdam Walmart from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. More news and community events all the time on our website, ncpr.org. Music today by Eddie Lawrence of Saranac Lake and Oscar Sarmiento of Potsdam. I'm Kara Chapman, North Country Public Radio.